4 o'clock. I'd like to start the meeting. Our first item is our Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Vice Chair, could you read our mission statement?
The mission of the Marshall Public School District is to educate, support, and prepare all learners for success.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any additions? Hearing none, please vote. It is approved. Public forum. Now's the time. If anybody in the public would like to approach the board, now's your time. Moving on to our presentation, the Marsh High School Safety and Security Updates. Welcome.
Thank you. All right. Well, thanks for having me here today. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk to you guys about some of the upgrades that we've had at the high school when it comes to security and our surveillance and things like that. So it's been a wonderful addition in some cases to our school, but also just in replacing some of the technology that we had as well there. So we'll go through and I'll talk a little bit about that with you guys. So one of the big things that we had done was to be able to provide a secure entrance into our building. And so if you come in the doors there now, you'll notice that when during the school day and that you need to come on in through the office to be able to enter the building, and you got to be able to have access to be able to do that. And so you'll go in there and press a button, and then they will allow you to be able to come in there. And then if you are, excuse me, if you're a visitor, we'll need to scan your driver's license and that or whatever and get you checked in there and that. So, okay. So that's been really nice, as well as the glass that we have on the doors in there as well to be able to provide better security in there and a safer environment for everybody. So I just took some pictures here just so you guys can kind of see the entry door there on the right-hand side. And then on the picture to the left of that there is from the office looking at that door. If you head over to the left side there, I took a picture of our kind of our secondary doors there and that or whatever. And then I zoomed in the other picture there where there's a lock right there. And so those locks there are on a timer. And the reason I took a picture of that lock is so that you can take a look and see that if we want to need to manually lock the doors, if there's something wrong in that or whatever, we can do that. The same with unlocking the doors as well. So it's kind of an override switch there. So, okay.
So do the students have to check out of the office when they go out then and then check back in?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And that's been really nice to be able to funnel that in that way. So, yep. So next we're going to talk a little bit about the camera upgrades, and then we've had some new cameras installed there as well, in addition to what we had before, and that's been really nice. So on the outside, we've had a few additional cameras mounted there as well on the perimeter of the building, so that's really nice. The ones that we had there before are the ones that came originally with the building, and they looked really cool, but they weren't real functional, and they were just wearing out. I mean, the picture with them was terrible. Some of them they didn't even work anymore. Some of them they would just get filled up with dirt and that or whatever, and you couldn't see, and they would constantly be working to try to be able to clean these things so that you could use them. Okay. The new ones that we have, which I'll be able to show you here after a little bit, are definitely so much more functional, and the pixels and that with the cameras. I mean, you could just see things so much clearer and better understand what's going on. So the other thing that we'll talk about here today is that we added some new sensors into our building here to be able to become more aware of any vaping that's going on in school. Okay, and obviously that doesn't fix the whole issue in that or whatever, but it does provide us more awareness. And with that awareness, it gives us an opportunity to be able to work with the individuals and their parents and let them know what's going on. I mean, I really feel like that's some of the biggest things that we can do is just having those conversations with them about what's going on. So a lot of people talk to them, just about vape detectors. They don't realize that there's other things that go along with them too that we can use them for, such as aggression. So sometimes they'll be like the boys basketball, be getting ready for a game, and I'll know it because we'll get an alert of aggression while they're just hooting and hollering in there or whatever, and that. But it lets us know if things are noisy in there and that or whatever. There's another thing on there that is called masking. Sometimes if there's certain chemicals in there and that or whatever, a lot of times I think it's perfume, when people are in the bathroom and that or whatever, and it'll just let us know. If somebody's tampering with it, they're throwing something at it or hitting at it or whatever, it lets us know that as well, so we can check into that. If somebody else help, it recognizes that in there and will let us know as well. And then it's also lets us know if there's a gunshot in there. Now, thankfully, we haven't had anything realistic as far as that stuff goes, but we did have a couple situations where that went off where it was just a loud noise. And so we had to check things out. But it's better to be safe than sorry, I guess.
Do you get those alerts on your phone?
I do, yeah. Yep.
And Sarah, I assume?
Sarah doesn't have them on hers, but Brian and I do. And then I think Todd gets them too, I think, on there. And so they can kind of keep an eye on things as well. But yeah, it's been really helpful though. Excuse me. In regards to just being able to have, current data, and what's going on.
Is more alert that they can be checked on through this stuff?
Some seem to care more than others. Yeah, they learn. I mean, they know. Well, some know, and that or whatever. But, like I say, it doesn't totally eradicate the whole thing and that or whatever, or fix the problem. But, yeah, some are wary of that, I guess. And,
Was it decreased as a result of this technology?
that's a great question. As far as decreasing, I think that we've had an increase in vaping, like at a national level. That's one thing that I've noticed in just regards to. I hate to blame everything, on COVID and that or whatever, but I do sense that when we went into a lot of our, distance learning and that or whatever, not all students developed great habits during that time. And I think it was a lot of time by themselves and that or whatever. And this is just my own thoughts on the whole thing, but I think there was just a lot of added stress and maybe not as good a coping strategies. I mean, they were away from each other. And I think it made a big difference with them. And so I think with that, they came back with some more issues, so to speak. And so now that's what really kind of the target is to, when we do, become aware of these different types of things that are going on with our kids, that we really work to focus on, how are you coping with stress? Or, and 90% of the time when I talk to kids about it, it's that they're overwhelmed. I've got some kids that have taken prescription medication and they decided they wanted to do this instead. Not saying that it's the best thing to do, but there's all kinds of different stories out there for these kids. One of the things that, not to go too far off topic here, but that I've been learning about and visiting with kids is a lot of kids have started in 5th and 6th grade. So that was something that I didn't know about until this year, in visiting with kids, but it was pretty alarming, So that's some work that we're going to be doing here as well.
So if you and Mr. Jones are out of the building, who gets notified then if an alarm goes off?
If an alarm goes off?
Right.
Well, like I
Go
said,
right to the office or what?
no, they don't go right to the office. They would just go to us, and then it would be us to be able to. We would need to connect with somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think there should be another party there? I mean, if somebody called for help in the bathroom,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Be better to have a third party there, somebody in the
Yeah.
building all the time being notified, or,
yeah, I mean, we certainly could.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, absolutely. Yep, I can talk with Todd about that and Brian and figure out, if there's somebody else that we think would be a good person to have, that option available to them.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to take time to thank everybody, I mean, because it was really a joint effort in making this happen and being able to upgrade the technology. So I appreciate all the people that have been a part of that and worked together to be able to, order this stuff and get it installed and keep it working. So I really appreciate everybody for that and appreciate you guys as well on the board in making this happen. Okay? So, with that, what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you guys a little bit how the camera works. Now, bear with me a little bit because I don't have a mouse with me, and normally for zooming in and out or whatever, but I think we can. Well, yeah. There we go. All right. Thanks, Tricia. Oh, it did. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just set it down here like this. All right. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take you through a couple of the different cameras that we have, some of the new ones and that, so you can see some of the things that we've done here in the last year. So, change our view here. Must mean that my internet's really good at the school. But here you can see just kind of the clarity of one of the images here where you can see the busing. This is one area here that we use. It's really nice to be able to see if I want to zoom in on anything like this. I can have the opportunity to be able to do that too. So there's my zoomed in view here, right here. And so what I'm going to do, let's say if I just wanted to check out this car right here, it gives me an opportunity to be able to do that. And if I want to follow this car like this, I can kind of follow them, or at least when they're on that screen. Okay, so I can move around here and that or whatever. And this has really been helpful in just being able to learn, what's all going on. So, all right. So. Scroll down here and find a couple other spots. One of the other things we were able to do is to be able to put a couple cameras in our gyms, and so that's been nice too. So here you can see the guys practicing in there.
This is live?
This is live, yep.
Okay.
So, and there's one. You can see in the north gym there. Girls are practicing in there. If you guys have any questions at any time, feel free to ask.
He's on is it on a security feed where it's recording these cameras all the time, so you go back and check,
Yeah, yep.
which is really
It'll go
handy.
for at least a month.
Really? You
That's
can
great.
go back a month?
That's been my experience with them so far.
Wow, wow.
That's been really nice. Before it would maybe 20 days. So it's nice having a little extra time. The other thing that we can do is record them, take a recording and then export that information and be able to save that as well. We need that for something. Uh, Another one that's been in our cafeteria, really like this, it's been able, really nice to be able to see in here as well. I apologize, it's kind of bright here, it's kind of hard to see, but the image on here has been great. Again, you can zoom in on different things and that or whatever, and a lot of times kids will like leave their computer behind somewhere and like, where did it go? And like, did somebody take it? And a lot of times it ends up being like their friend and they just had it and hadn't connected with them and whatever. But it's not kind of nice to be able to go and, investigate those things and let them know that things are okay. So here's one from our locker bank. I really like these. So we have one in each corner and then we have one in the middle too. And it also shoots down on the end where you can catch the restroom there too as well. So that's been a really nice with this new camera and its ability to really cover such a nice area. So before it was not that nice. We had to have let's see, I'm trying to think if there was four cameras in there. I don't remember. But anyway, we're actually able to have less cameras because of the angle, and they're so much nicer. So, and then I want to show you one more here, and that is. So these are the kind of like a fisheye lens type thing that you can use, and I want to warn you here before I do this, if it works with. That some people get a little queasy, like motion sickness with this, because it kind of will spin around and that or whatever. So I'm going to try to see. I'm going to try to be able to zoom in on here, guys. I'm sorry. Like I said, it's normally. Wow. Let's see if I do this. Okay, so we can go down like this.
What location is this?
Cool. So this is upstairs in
hallway?
high school.
Okay.
Now, it looks kind of fuzzy here on here right now, but in the recording view, if I need to go back and look at something, it's actually quite a bit clearer. So you can go this way, go here, and go down here, which is really nice. Just provides so much more flexibility with it. So it's pretty cool. So really, again, really appreciated
You got
that opportunity.
teacher conferences?
Yep. Yep. So, yeah. Yeah. So I can zoom back out when I'm done. All right. Any questions about anything that I've shared with you guys today? Any more questions?
How many cameras do we have? Like, say at the high school, how many cameras do we have?
Oh,
Got a rough guess?
Todd, you can help me out with that one. I guess I haven't counted them up. I'm always just looking to see if they're working or not. I would say,
I believe it's about 40.
Yeah.
Some of them have like four cameras in one. Some of those exterior ones are 20 megapixel cameras, like 4 or 5 megapixel cameras that stitch them together. So they're all like-
next up.
This made your supervisory job easier?
It does. I mean, it just, yeah, a lot of it is, you end up going back and trying to investigate things and, after you get a report on something or whatever, but it is really helpful. There's some other features to this too that are really nice too. So if like there's like a location where something happened, I can go and like highlight that area and then it'll bring up any time that somebody or something was in that area. And it'll just bring out all kinds of images and then I can go and sort through there. So.
Wow.
So that's been really helpful as well. Yep.
Does it work when it's a little dark, or does it?
They'll still work. Yeah, they'll still work. A little bit, but not as well. That's for sure. But most of the time there's some lights on in there, and you can see, and they're motion activated. So most of the time people are in an area. I mean, it's going to light up anyway. So, yeah.
What's your sense, Brian?
Well, compared to, we still have a few of the original cameras operating, 2005, and that's 90% very helpful. We had, today I was on it a couple of different times, we had a student who had not reported to class, so instead of walking every hallway looking for that student, we can bring up several cameras at once and the school gets scanned, so that's helpful. We had, very helpful when a student comes in and reports that their laptop is missing, and they left it on top of their lockers in their locker bank, and say, where's your locker? We can just go and watch, who has it, and more times than not, one of their buddies grabbed it and was playing a joke on them, or took that with the idea of, I'll just give it to them later. I mean, so it helps that way. It was very helpful, like for instance, a month ago with our issue with the restroom, of trying to narrow down and have people to talk to. As far as the other systems like the sensors that we have for vaping, it times makes it seem a little overwhelming because your phone is going off multiple times a day and trying to, find out what's going on. And like Mr. Chapman had asked, depending on the alert, if we're out of the building and we, see that it's a help, we call and get a counselor right up to that area to see what's going on. If it's a vape, well, we can look at the camera at that location and we have the time that it happened and we can look to see who that student was. And then that makes for a follow-up conversation or a follow-up phone call much easier because it's not speculation, but we now have, some concrete evidence as to what's going on. So, we never want to return to not having camera system in a school. That'd be really difficult.
We had a situation earlier this year where a student had lost his device, just like what Ryan was talking about, and we could see that the student kind of followed him around the building to kind of see where he was at and that or whatever. And for the longest, they looked everywhere, they couldn't find it, and we were able to kind of go back and see that he went into one classroom and then he came back out without the device. So we figured, well, it's got to be in there somewhere. And finally, they found it. It went underneath like a little bookshelf. It was underneath there. It got like slid underneath there or whatever. And, without that, they wouldn't have known that, hey, it's in there somewhere. So it's been really helpful for a lot of things.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
Thanks, Travis.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
Board members, anybody have anything they'd like to bring up? Moving on to our discussion items, our enrollment update.
I just wanted to share where we're at with enrollment as we're starting to plan for next year. One of our requests tonight kind of centers around that, but share with you where we're at. So Tricia, if you could pull up the first one of those. Got a couple of documents. The first document here looks at our enrollment, and this is one that we put together each month, comparing where we are currently to looking back where we were last year, where we were the start of this year, and then comparing month to month. Pulling it up. Right, Todd, you're leaving when our tech isn't working.
Smart man.
All right, there it is. So the end of the 2020-2021 school year, those are by grade level, the counts at each grade level. When we count these, we look at the number of filled seats at the first day of the month, and then we don't change that number again until the next month. So it's a static number throughout the month, even though we have a lot of coming and going. We just need a common spot to look at. The 9/7/21, that was our first day of school this year, so we have a count where we were in the first day of school, knowing that tends to change a lot as the year goes on. The October 1st count is the number that we really look at as our official start of the school year count. So I have that listed. The increase decrease from last year, that's comparing where we ended the previous year to where we were as of October 1st. And then on the right side of that heavier line, the student count on March 1st. So I have a different one of these for each month that I track, and we use looking at grade levels if we see any trends or any major changes, comparing that to where we were the previous month and then the change since October 1st. So looking through those counts, you can see our current count, not including preschool, is 2,516 students. That was as of March 1st. On the bottom, then I take each site, so just adding up the grade levels per that site, and then that grand total down there includes the early childhood students. Now, some of those aren't here full days, and so, that's certainly a different type of program. That's a total number of students that are enrolled. So I think those numbers are helpful as we're looking at where we're at and as we think about programming for next year. Any questions on that document the board members have? Otherwise, I'd like to go on to the second document that is really what we're using as we're planning for next year. The first chart on there, so I took the current enrollment on the left-hand side. That was as of January 1st, because I worked on that during February, actually. So I have the January counts of kids. How many sections we currently have in that grade level, how many teachers we have, and then I show the class size, the average class size based off of the enrollment as of in January. And then I took the projected class numbers, so I took the classes, rolled them forward to next year. For high school, we include anticipated enrollment from other sources, from other schools, other districts, what have you. We have like an average of how many people we see come in at each grade level. And I took the early childhood, looking at birth rate and how many of those students typically enroll in our early childhood program to predict kindergarten numbers for going forward. So those I feel are pretty confident projection numbers. Deanna and I have worked on that together. And then compared to section counts, you'll see a couple of those I have highlighted because I'm projecting we're going to need some changes in sections to make our target class size numbers. So the number on the far right where it says target class size, that's the board approved targets for each grade level. You see our target size is 20 for kindergarten through second grade. Kindergarten, we're projecting will be a little bit over that like we are this year. With kindergarten, we have the kindergarten aides in each room. So there's 2 adults in each room all the time. I've talked with Darcy about that, and she feels pretty strongly that they're comfortable where they're at with that. That's where we've been actually for the last few years, is slightly over 20, but with 2 adults in every room. First grade, we're at 9 sections currently. We project we'll stay there, and we'll be just under our target class size. This is taking current enrollment rolling forward again. Second grade, if we stay at the current 8 sections we have, we would be over our target class size. So that's where we're feeling we need to add a 9th section. We had 9 sections previously. We had gone down to 8, I want to say 2 years ago, and I don't know that number in front of me. But we feel we need to go back to 9 to maintain that target class size of 20. Our third grade section this year is one of our smaller, it's our smallest section in the district. We're at 7 sections of third grade this year, but next year we're projecting that the current second grade class is bigger, so we would need to go back to 8 in third grade to maintain the class sizes. But as that third grade group rolls to fourth grade, that's going to be smaller. We feel we can go to 7 there, so we'd probably be reassigning somebody from fourth into third because of that small group that's coming through. Then middle school, I rolled all those forward too. I won't go through each one individually. You see 2 highlighted spots there. That has to do with middle school is a little harder to count because they're not in one homeroom all day long. We have kids that are in, there's a variety of classes taking place, so it's harder to count. So I'm counting the number of core classes when I'm counting sections, how many sections of language, arts, and math, and science, and social that we offer. So I feel like we have some adjustments within 7th and 8th, but that would be reassigning course schedules as is, so it wouldn't be any changes in staffing numbers within those numbers, even though that's highlighted here. So the primary changes that I'm projecting for next year, based off our enrollment, is an additional section of second grade and then reassigning a 4th to a 3rd. The other piece that I'd like to highlight is if you scroll down a little bit, Trish, on that, the second chart, I took the high school enrollments looking at, and I think Brian and Travis will tell you that there's not a lot of extra room at the high school this year. Our building is full. We have a lot of kids in there. Our count was 836 right now. We're projecting an enrollment of 881 next year rolling forward. And you look at that going forward, those numbers are big. We've got large classes coming through our high school. So you'll see some of the additions on our staffing requests for later are related specifically to high school because of these increased numbers. Next year isn't a huge change. I mean, 50 kids doesn't seem like a huge change, I guess, but going forward, there's going to be additional that we'll have to determine how we're going to manage that space and staffing wise at the high school in particular. Any questions from the board on those counts? Of course, they're all projections. There's no exact science to this. I will note too that the high school
Jeremy,
numbers too don't include Maytech. That's just the high school.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yep.
What relief would we have when the career and technical?
That'll just be, so some of those kids would be off campus. That'll help with some space needs, but it'll be the same kids attending someplace else. Now, Maytech students, like I say, aren't included here. So depending on how many of those students enroll at the CTI, but that will certainly help because there would be fewer kids in the building for any given block. If you think about passing times, you get that many more kids in the hallway. That creates more things, and which can create more behavior issues and such too. So managing all of that will look different going forward.
So we're probably gonna be out of classrooms.
We're out of classrooms now. We've got students, our teachers on carts that are traveling from room to room, and then each locker bank area has that teacher prep area. So teachers are going in there, and someone else is using that room. So the rooms are used. Most of the rooms are used most of the day. I would say you guys can speak better to that than I can, but.
Yeah, right, right, what Margaret's concerned, it's just lockers and space, but lockers, pretty rare when a teacher's on prep, if they're able to stay in the classroom, but another traveling teacher, which for some classes it works fine, but other classes
Are you thinking we might need to do a study on space or?
We'll continue to look at it going forward, and as we get into next year, we'll see where we're at for future years. But Deanna and I have been talking a lot about how we manage that, and thinking with these guys with the scheduling, how do we make room, make space for everything. Some rooms are more easily used for other classes. A social studies room can be used to teach a language arts class. That can work, but to use an art room to teach a science class, that doesn't work very well. So.
Very good. Moving on to discussion items, second, did I miss one? Thank you.
Staffing update.
Staffing update.
Yeah. So I think the attachment that Trisha's got is we have some staffing positions that are currently open, and after our conversation tonight, I'd like to open a couple other ones, and we're just doing a push there. So we've taken out an ad on a billboard that is what this picture is. It's going to be on the billboard down here in the corner next week.
Starting this week?
Probably
Jeff,
even
can you
starting.
take the can you take meeting back to 8.2?
And certainly we've started advertising for some positions and interviewing and such there. Yeah. Talk about the other one when we get down to the board action item.
Staffing's always gonna be a problem.
Staffing has been a concern. We're not getting the number of applications we've had in the past, and hiring the candidates we're looking for. Finding candidates to apply has been a challenge, as it is for everybody.
Everywhere.
Yep.
Maybe we can pull some out of Minneapolis. Yeah,
We'll take her. Yeah,
that it, I'll move on.
that's it. Yep, you can move on.
All right, thank you. Moving on to discussion items, second reading of policies 901 to 907. Any questions, comments? Moving on to our action items, approval of the middle school math counts field trip. Motion to approve,
Second.
open for discussion. Hearing no discussion, we'll vote. It is approved. Authorization to advertise and hire 2022-23 positions. Motion to discuss. Need a second? Open for discussion.
This is the list of positions that right now we're anticipating we're going to need additional for next year. There's a few things listed across the different buildings. Admin team has spent some time on this. Each administrator had a chance to submit a request to myself and Dion for what their what staffing they think they need for next year. I've talked through with them what that would look like, what the needs are, why. Deanna and I have looked through, these positions would be added to the budget for next year. But because, like we just talked about, the staffing is hard, getting applicants are hard, and districts are starting to hire, so we'd like to be able to post these early and get the best opportunity at the best candidates that we can get. Again, these would be incorporating the budget for next year. So the additions that we're looking at adding, at the high school last year, we had added you guys had approved addition of a full-time counselor. It was an additional half to make it a whole. We were not able to find somebody to fill that position last year. So we have Chris DeBiella had been filling in on a 0.5 last year, but that other half never got filled. So we would like to, we still have the need. We'd like to be able to hire that other half. Middle school, as we go through the ratios, to counselor ratios to student, certainly we know there's a lot of mental health needs at all buildings, middle school included. They've talked to me about their needs. They are currently almost 50 students more per counselor than what the next highest school is. So they have requested an additional counselor, bring them kind of right in line with where the other buildings are with counselor ratios. What I'd like to do is post that one, and Paul and I have talked about posting that as an SEL teacher. Parkside and Southview both have an SEL teacher focused on the preventative measures, the social emotional skills. And the licensure requirement is different with SEL than for the counselor. We feel that would fill a big need for us at the middle school level. So we'd like to hire a full-time person.
Bob Jacobson's doing that at Parkside?
Like what, at Southview.
At
Yeah.
Southview, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and South Parkside has a person as well doing SEL
Is that
specific.
something you can pull out of Greater Minnesota?
It would be a different need than Greater Minnesota. Greater Minnesota is a higher need than what our building counselors are. This would be more of a preventative measure to try and support kids before we see some of the problems come is the idea with this one.
What would the licensure be like again, Jeremy?
SEL, an elementary licensed person can do that. Otherwise, counselor, you need a
Teaching
counseling
degree.
license. Yep, a teaching degree, absolutely. It's 4 years.
Not a counseling degree.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gives us more flexibility.
correct. Yep. Language arts at the high school, it's based off of the enrollment at the high school. We need some additional sections of language arts to meet all of the requests. Parent education and early childhood, that would allow an extra section. It's a very part-time person that does that. We don't have enough hours for the requests we're seeing, so she's requested an additional 50 hours, and the person we have now would be able to fill that need if we can hire that. And then the second grade teacher, we do have that one posted as anticipated at this time, but that is a need that we're seeing based off those student enrollments. So I'd ask the board to consider approval of those positions for next year.
I move approval.
Any other discussions? We already got a first and a second here.
We'll take 3 and 4.
We'll go ahead and vote, please. Is approved.
Thank you.
Move to close the meeting for an expulsion. Motion to close the meeting. I need a second.
Second.
Meeting will now be closed. We'll reconvene. Motion to reconvene. Need a second.
Second.
Please vote.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks, Travis.
You think, is she still on, you think?
Yep, she just voted. She's there.
Oh, there she
Okay,
is.
there, thank you. Moving on to our action item, consideration of potential action related to the resolution of expulsion, motion to expel, or
She needs a second.
oh,
Should be exclusion, right?
yeah,
Not
exclusion.
expulsion?
Yes, sir. Very good. I'll vote yes, and I need a second.
What are we voting on?
We're
Exclusion.
voting on exclusion.
Through the end of third quarter.
Yes.
Yep.
We need to specify that. It's not in here.
It's in the resolution.
In the resolution.
It is?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll second.
Please vote. Was I going to abstain? It's yellow. Okay. Thank you, board members.
Thank you.